Hey guys, Foxdrop here with a video on how to win a losing game. Today we'll be talking all about comebacks because I'm not too sure if the League community knows much about this, but there are actually more strategies that you should be employing when you're behind in League apart from spam pinging your teammates and wishing them cancer. So we're going to look at some of those other perhaps peculiar strategies that you may not have thought of before. But before we get on with anything, something we have to do in every one of these vlog videos, it's time. So let's get straight on into the tips on how to forge comebacks. First thing to say, all about your mentality. You have to believe that you can come back into the game. Now I know that sounds really cheesy and like not really a point to be honest, but a lot of people when they're behind will just think, oh, this game's over, we can't win, it's impossible to win. When actually, if you think about how many times you believe that your teams have thrown games that were free wins. So if your teammates can throw games, your enemies can throw games. Outside of your mentality though, what you really need to do first and foremost is to identify your win condition. Now this phrase, your win condition, is kind of thrown around a lot. It's something that people probably have heard of and will understand, but don't necessarily really know what it means in relation to their own games. What a win condition is what your team needs to do to win the game. You know, the strategies that your team excels at that will best lead to them winning the game. Just think to yourself, okay, what's going to need to happen this game in order for our team to win? Like imagine a situation, the most likely situation that your team comes back. What's going to happen? How do you then make that happen? Now don't just think of stuff like, you know, random shit like, oh, the enemy team all disconnects and goes AFK. Not quite like that. You don't want to think about how you can make the whole enemy team DC. That's called DDoSing. We're not advocating that. Don't do that. That's naughty. You won't get anywhere in life doing that. Apart from, of course, maybe becoming a mid laner for a professional team. But essentially, just think about what it is that your team is good at, what they're not so good at, and try and play around what it is that they are good at, and look for the opportunities to exploit what it is that your team is good at. The second tip, which is kind of linked to the first one as well, is to identify someone on your team who you think is going to best carry that game. Usually this is from like a jungler's perspective, but if most of your lanes are losing, you can't help everyone. Like it's going to be impossible to spread your resources and get anything productive done. What you need to do is just pick one person on your team, one person who you think has the highest chance, if they become strong, to carry your whole lazy ass team on their backs. Normally I would say this would be like the AD carry, because there's someone who can carry from later on into the game. Like you can just stall out and then eventually they'll become quite strong. But sometimes depending on the team comp, this can be someone completely different. This can be like an anti-carry, for example, someone like Fiora or someone like Jace. Depending on the team comp, depending on who you're playing against, if there aren't many tanks on the team, if you get like the anti-carry fed, they're probably going to be able to carry the game as well. So yeah, if you're the jungler, just find that one person on your team who you think is going to carry and just gank the crap out of their lane. Third tip, avoid fighting wherever possible. Fighting when you're behind is not a good idea. Unless you can find people completely out of position, generally speaking, forcing fights is not going to end too well. If you're underfed and the enemy team's overfed, you can't go toe to toe, which means that you have to find an unfair fight in your advantage. Now that's certainly possible to do, but chances are things can go a little bit ugly. Say you chase someone down, but you can't quite kill them fast enough because you're not strong enough and the enemy team arrives and oh god. You know, it can just get a little bit hairy and it's not a situation you want to find yourself in. So if the enemy team is pretty strong, yeah, don't fight them. What you can do though is to play around your power spikes. So what a power spike is if you imagine your strength like gradually increasing like this and then something happens, like you reach a certain level or you get a certain item and then boom, you get a spike in your power. That's what a power spike is. You know, I thought I might need to explain that because it might be a bit confusing, but yeah, just really obvious, isn't it? Either way, your power spikes will vary from champion to champion. Some champions are very ultimate dependent, so once they hit level 6, that's a power spike. Other champions are more like item dependent, so for example, 3 items on someone like GP is a pretty big power spike. Triforce on these Triforce users, that in itself could be a pretty big power spike. So if you do want to look for some opportunities to go and fight, those are probably your best bet, playing around the power spikes, but you still don't necessarily have to force things. You can just hold out and just grab as much gold as you can. And that brings us nicely onto the fourth point, grab gold where you can. You do not need to be trying too hard to make stuff happen. You don't need to be thinking, oh crap, I'm so far behind. Of course you're so far behind. You're playing from behind. Just chill out and just grab whatever gold you can without putting yourself in too much danger. It's a very frustrating way to play. I understand it's a very frustrating way to play. You just want to get strong and you just want to be able to do stuff, but just chill out, soak up the minion waves, and eventually you'll be fine. Penultimate point here before we get onto it, just want to say thanks for watching so far. Hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, of course, hit me with that cheeky thumbs up. You can subscribe to me as well for more League of Legends content. But anyway, getting right onto it, penultimate point here, boys and girls, keeping good vision. It's very, very important to know what the enemy team is up to. So if your warding totems are up, try and keep like a warding perimeter in your own jungle. If you can see what the enemy team is doing, you can see the plays they're making, it's a lot easier to counter those plays. And of course, it's a lot easier to not get caught with your pants down and feed the enemy team even more. Because, you know, vision is just information, and the better information you have, the better decisions you can make. So just keep a priority on the vision. This means as well that you probably don't need sweepers if you're really far behind. Like, there's no point being able to sweep enemy vision because you don't care about denying the enemy's information because they pretty much know where you are. You're just sucked up into your own base. It's more important for you to know where the enemy team is because they could be anywhere. They've got the whole map to play around and you don't know where the bloody hell they are. So you want to find out where the bloody hell they are. So vision. And the last point here, very important point, very, very important point, but it's something that I feel like I can't put at the beginning of the video because someone will just instantly turn off and be like, this is a shit video. I've heard this 10,000 times before. Don't focus on the mistakes. Don't focus on what's gone wrong so far. Focus instead on what you need to do to win the game. Like, it's all well and good, you can sit there typing and raging, getting really angry at your teammates and blaming them for that botched play they did level 3. Of course, when you invaded, when all your lanes were pushed in as a jungler, you find the enemy jungler, you're fighting them, and then suddenly all the lanes collapse on you. What a surprise. Instead of sitting there furiously flaming your teammates, just, you know, forget about it. Just think about what you need to do to win the game moving forward. Don't look at the mistakes in the past. It's not going to help you. It's just a waste of energy. Like, you don't get anything from thinking about that. You're not going to miraculously change the mistakes that have happened. All it does is like vent your frustration, and even then it doesn't even make you feel better. Let's be real, it doesn't make you feel better when you rage at someone. You just get even angrier. Chances are as well that person will rage back at you and then you get caught in an argument, and that's not good. And if you follow these tips, you chill the crap out, you just turtle up, you farm up, and you focus on the things I said, you'll win a lot more games from behind than before. So I hope you found this video useful, boys and girls. Like I say, cheeky thumbs up and subscribe to me for more League of Legends content. I hope you have a great, amazing, wonderful day. Thank you so much for checking this video out. Really appreciate it. I'll see you in my next video.